Okay, here we go, y'all. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Lake Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting for August 14th, 2023. Meeting is called to order. All members are here besides Mr. Baird. He is not here, but we do have a quorum established. Our next item is a moment of silence. If you'd please join us in that moment of silence. Thank you. And now if you would please rise as we do our pledges of allegiance. And we've got some kiddos here to help us out. That way we get it right. Thank you very much. Our next items are student and staff recognitions, the first of which is the Shady Shores Elementary Watchdogs recognition.
Good evening, Dr. Brown and Board of Trustees. It is my great honor to share and recognize with you tonight Mr. Rex Webb. Will you please come up, Mr. Webb? Mr. Webb is a part of our Watchdogs program. He has reinvigorated our program at Shady Shores Elementary. And so Watchdog stands for Dads of Great Students, or in this case, Granddads, because his children went to Shady Shores Elementary. One is now at the high school and one is a paraprofessional at Lake Dallas High School. So we now have the great honor of having his sweet granddaughter in kindergarten. And so last year when she started pre-K, he started volunteering. And so in July at the Texas PTA conference in July, they honored him as the top dog of Texas for the most,
Actually, it's
worldwide top dog. And I stand corrected. He has served the most hours on our campus, and so it is such a great honor that we get to share with you. The Watchdogs organization is so proud of him that they have now added a sidekick to their mascot, that there will be more information coming out, but they have nicknamed it Rex in his honor. So you too can have a Rex Watchdogs t-shirt if you would like. So one of his catchphrases is, "How can I help?" And so he's constantly asking. He will do anything all the time. He even keeps a spare shirt in the car in case he needs to switch from Watchdogs to substitute on our campus. And so we are just so blessed and wanted to recognize him this evening with you. Thank you, Mr. Webb, for all of your volunteer hours, your love, your support. You can see your great picture up on the screen. Fantastic job. Thank you for representing us in Watchdogs.
It's my honor to represent Shady Shores Elementary. Anytime the school needs something, I'm there, no matter what.
Thank you so much for your service.
All right, our next item is our Shady Shores Elementary student leaders.
It's me again. Can you Shady Shores students leaders please come join me up front? So at Shady Shores Elementary, we pride ourselves on giving our students opportunities to be student leaders. And one of our very first events of the entire year, I'm blocking some of it, hold on, you'll see them all, okay. one of our very first family events is our Meet the Teacher Night, which was last week. And these wonderful student leaders stepped up and were part of our greeting squad. So as returning families or our new families were walking in the door, they were spread out all over the campus, welcoming them, showing them where to go, and even walking them to classrooms for our new families. And so tonight I would like to recognize these amazing leaders: Paige Thompson, Bentley Knowles, Reagan and Autumn Harkins, Maddie Cote and Colt Allen. And we have a few that weren't able to join us tonight: Reagan Snell, Sonora Gray, and Nikki Banza. So thank you so much for your time and recognizing these amazing leaders at Shady Shores Elementary.
All right. Way to go, y'all. All right, our next item is the TAEA District of Distinction Recognition.
Good evening.
Ms. Avelino.
Dr. Brown, President Stacy, Board of Trustees. For the last 5 years, Lake Dallas ISD has participated in the Texas Art Education Association's competition to award District of Excellence to our art programs. It's a very extensive process and one that is very competitive. So I'd like to invite Ms. Jeanette Murray to the podium to discuss this with you. I think she has some friends to introduce as well. If you haven't met our district art teachers, they are phenomenal. Jeanette, I'll let you take it away.
Good evening, Dr. Brown, Board of Trustees. I am Jeanette Murray. I'm one of the high school art teachers. I have my entourage of wonderful art teachers around the district too. This is Shirley Fraze from Corinth Elementary, Claudia Gill from LDE, Janae Davis from the middle school, Taylor Williams from Shady Shores, and Jessica Reisenhuber also from the middle school. So the District of Distinction is an annual recognition program offered by the Texas Art Education Association, as Ms. Avelino mentioned. The purpose is to honor school districts that are leading the way in the visual arts. The TAEA administration, their supervision division, recognizes districts with outstanding leadership in promoting the visual arts in their district, but also in their community. So in order to apply for this award, we had to meet or exceed a very rigorous 14-point rubric that includes everything from teacher membership into professional organizations, field experiences and community engagement with our students, community service, and collaboration with other discipline areas. Over 1,200 districts are in the state of Texas and were able to apply. Only 68 districts this year received the District of Distinction Award for 2023. Lake Dallas ISD was one of them. So that's exciting, but moreover, and even more exciting, for the last 5 years that this distinction has been offered, Lake Dallas ISD has received it every single year. So we're now in the top 1.3% of all districts in the state of Texas. So I think I speak for all of us and how we feel about the visual arts and how important it is, not to us, but to our students in our district too. And we're super, super excited to bring this 5-year award back home. I'll be getting it in November. I think some of the teachers are going to join me at conference and we'll be able to bring that hardware back to you. So thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting us always.
Don't y'all go anywhere. We have some pictures we got to take. And since y'all are already up, y'all go ahead and come on up here and we'll come around and then we'll get with the students and then Rex, wherever he went. Is he still here? There he is. All right. right, congratulations to all you guys again. Great job. Appreciate what y'all are doing. Our next item is executive session. The open session of the meeting will adjourn. The Board of Trustees will reconvene in executive session pursuant to one or more of the sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The Board of Trustees will reconvene in open session to take any final action, decision, or vote on a matter deliberated in executive session, and it is 5:41. Ready, Mike? Okay, it is 6:35, and we are back in open session. The first item is public comment, and Mulaney advises we have nobody signed up for public comment. So move on to our next item, which is our introductions. Dr. Brown?
Yes, sir. Ms. Landrum, you want to come up and introduce our new Falcon family members?
Yes, good evening, Board. It is my honor and privilege tonight to introduce the two newest members of our Falcon family administrative staff. Corey, would you join me? First, I'd like to introduce our new Director of Child Nutrition, Corey Ray. Corey holds a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Master of Arts in Kinesiology Sports Management, both from Sam Houston State University. He has spent 9 years working for Aramark K-12 in the field of student nutrition. He served as unit controller for McKinney ISD Child Nutrition for 4 years. He was in the food service director for Gainesville ISD for 2 years before moving to Louisville ISD, where he held the position of food service director and then was most recently the unit controller for Louisville ISD Student Nutrition, a position he held for 2.5 years. So please join me in giving a warm Falcon welcome to Mr. Corey Ray.
All right.
Next, I'd like to
Excellent.
introduce our new Associate Superintendent of Curriculum, Ms. Kelly O'Sullivan. Ms. O'Sullivan holds a Bachelor of Social Work from Texas State University, a Master of Social Work from the University of Texas at Arlington, a Master of Education in Education Administration from Lamar University, and is currently working on a doctorate in educational leadership. Ms. O'Sullivan comes to us from Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD, where she began her career as Behavior Resource Specialist before serving as a classroom teacher, instructional facilitator, assistant principal, associate principal, and principal. And then her most recent position at Carrollton Farmers Branch was that of Chief of School Leadership. Please welcome Ms. Kelly O'Sullivan with a warm Falcon welcome.
Okay, our next item are our trustee reports. I'm going to start down here with Mr. Smith.
Thank you. So far, so good. We've had our first day of school, got things off and running. Excited for this school year and the things we're getting ready to get into. Yep, and I'm already drowning in band stuff, so you'll see me on the sideline doing band roadie things.
All right. Ms. McKinley.
Ginger, is this your old microphone here? Okay, well, now we know. All right, so again, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. It's great to see all the hustle and bustle of the students driving across the parking lot and not stopping and not looking and all those things. And so it's always fun. And I'm thankful that we do have the opportunities that we present our students with multiple opportunities to learn, to grow, develop here in Lake Dallas, anywhere from the arts to sports and, FFA. And it's so exciting to see all the great things that they are going to do this year, all the awards that they're going to win and all the games. And I am excited to I won't be at the Greenville game because I can't commit to drive an hour and a half to see my son play the fifth bass drum because I'm that parent that's just for the band. But I'll go when we are back at home. But yes, I'm excited and to see what the great things that we're going to do this 2023-24 school year.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Appleby.
No, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work on getting us ready for a school year. I know lots of hours go into getting our Falcons ready to get back into the classroom, and so I just want to thank everyone for that, and I am looking forward to a great year.
All right, Mr. Tucker.
Yeah, I thought convocation was good. I thought there was excitement in the room, so that was really good for everybody that put that on. And first day of school, I got to take my grandkids to Corinth Elementary and saw Wes out there directing buses and stuff, so that was good too. So just hope you have a great year.
Ms. Collier. Didn't forget you this time.
Yeah, thanks for remembering me
That's
over
right.
here. Just welcome back. It was exciting time at Meet the Teacher Night, seeing everybody excited about their classrooms and their new teachers, and y'all are just doing a fabulous job, and welcome back. We're excited for the year.
And I'll echo that. Welcome back, everybody. It's a little weird this year. I don't have a kid in the district. Managed to get them all graduated, but I still enjoy being here, so you're welcome. No, welcome back, everybody. All right, we'll wrap that up. So, it's particular for her. So now we have some comments from Dr. Brown. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Thank you for being here tonight, sir. Appreciate that. I wanted to just thank the principals. The Fine Arts Distinction Award, the TAEA, is a really big deal. And to support your teachers and to support what they need to make that happen for 5 consecutive years. We appreciate that effort that you all put into the program to make sure that our kids have access to a quality program. So thank you for that. And Wes has been a little, quiet, but I do want to share that his first rating was released. And Lake Dallas ISD has an A first rating in the financial side. So congratulations to Wes and Ann and their whole department for all of that. That's a lot of work and a lot of crazy, crazy things that go into that finance piece. And so thank you for making sure that all of that is set and for making sure the district is represented well with a superior rating. So good job, sir.
Okay, our next item is our consent agenda. The consent agenda are those routine items identified as procedural, informational, self-explanatory, etc. They can be handled in one motion. Do you have any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Tucker. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Smith. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval, please indicate. And that passes 6-0. Thank you. Our next items are action items, the first of which is budget update and consideration approval to authorize the publishing of the notice of public meeting to discuss budget and tax rate for the 2023-24 school year. And right on cue, there's Mr. Wes Eversole.
Thank you, President Stacy. Evening, Board. Dr. Brown as well. Good evening. Okay, so find the clicker here. Make sure it works. We need another battery. Here we go. Okay. All right. So this is a budget calendar that we review first each and every budget meeting. We're obviously into August right now, and so we're going to be reviewing some federal programs and giving you a final budget update this evening. We did receive our certified values probably July 23rd, so it was a couple days in advance, which is great. We appreciate DCAD getting that on time. And then we asked that we have our final meeting in 2 weeks, where we will bring to the board, first of all, we'll have a public hearing as required by law, and then we'll ask the board to review and adopt the budget and the tax rate as well. So precursor of things to come. Okay, so this is kind of a slide that we continually go over to make sure that we understand our assumptions and the key budget factors. Obviously, legislation. We've certainly gone past the session right now, and we're trying to absorb all the rules and regulations and laws that have been put forth in front of us. That effort will continue for quite a while. Property values. We're going to talk a little bit about the property values tonight. The tax rate compression with the property tax relief bill, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And remember, as we continually say, property value growth no longer impacts materially our general fund, but it certainly does impact our debt service fund. We are now kind of saying the same song and dance each month, but we're funded by our attendance, okay, the number of kids that walk in the front door each and every day. So attendance and enrollment is a vital component of how we're funded, also our special populations as well. So Senate Bill 2 passed, tax relief package, and it increases the homestead to $100,000. So currently it's at $40,000. It's been for $40,000 for several years, and Senate Bill 2 increases that to $100,000, but it's going to require election by the voters, and so that will go forth this fall to the voters. But TEA and the legislators have told us that we need to pretend that's already passed, as far as our budgeting goes, as far as the notices that will go out to the public, your tax notices, which we don't really do. That's the county, but for budget standpoint and for tax rate adoption standpoint, we're assuming that it's going to pass. More than likely, it's going to pass, but that's the assumption that has been prescribed in front of us. And so, because of the hold harmless, our taxable values go down. I'll talk about that in a second, but there is a hold harmless provision for both the M&O, the general fund, and the debt service. And so, any debt service, any bonds that we have sold prior to this date, they're going to give us a little extra money to take to make us hold for that hold harmless provision, because we're going to receive less taxes because the homestead is going up from $100,000 to $40,000. And so this is our certified values, and the Denton County Appraisal District gave us actually two certified values. They gave us a certified taxable value based on the $40,000 homestead exemption, and so that came in at over $3 billion, which was almost a 20% increase from where we were last year. So you can see the last 3 years we were up 7.5% or 7.7%, 13% last year, and then 19.9%. That's almost a 40. It's at a little more than a 40% increase over 3 years. That's huge. And so so this just shows you how those increases have occurred the past several years. Now with a homestead exemption, our taxable value goes down, right? Because each homestead receives that $100,000 deduction. And so our certified values, taxable values, after they calculate the homestead, the frozen taxes, over 65, that type of thing, has come down to $2.775 billion. And so that's a pretty substantial decrease, but still 10% increase over where our taxable values were this time last year. So those certified values affect our debt service, don't really affect our general fund. This is what affects our general fund. And so so you can see where our enrollment has been just the past 3 years, and we've talked about this several times. 21, 22, after COVID, we got a little increase in students. We were, our snapshot was over 4,000 students. We had projected to actually increase a little bit based on our demographer's report, but as it turns out, our student enrollment went down to 3882, and that's our snapshot. That's the fall snapshot. So we went down about 3%. We just had people move out for a variety of reasons. We've looked at it, and there's not really any one reason that we can determine on where we've lost students. But especially Lake Dallas Elementary attendance zone, we lost probably more students in the Lake Dallas Elementary attendance zone than we did in the Shady Shores and Corinth. And that's just not elementary age kids, but those are middle school age kids and high school age kids too, you know, for whatever reason. So you can see we are funded by the number of kids, and so we're not really funded by enrollment, but we're funded by ADA, average daily attendance. But these numbers just kind of show you how our enrollment has gone down. So we brought a budget amendment to the board 2 or 3 months ago, reduced our revenue projection for this year because we had projected that we were going to increase. I still feel pretty confident that we will, even though we adopted a $700,000 budget deficit for the 22-23 school year, that will come even. We'll have a balanced budget at the end of the year. Two things that is kind of saving us. We did budget for positions because we thought we were going to increase enrollment. We did budget positions that we never did fill, and then just through attrition, we've lost some positions. So from a financial perspective, that has helped. And then interest revenue has been a big saving grace for us as well. We had budgeted $150,000 at the beginning of the year, and we're going to be north of 1.1 to 1.2 million, probably maybe north of 1.2 million. And so that certainly has helped our budget this year and helps our budget for the 23-24 school year. So we're able to hopefully, as it turns out, have a balanced budget by the end of fiscal year 23. And then you can see 23-24, it looks like we're going down some additional students as well. And so I pulled these numbers off Skyward yesterday. And now these are going to change. I was talking to Ms. Avellino. She thinks that we're more like 1,300 as opposed to 1,286. There's some students that are still not inputted into the system. And so these numbers will change. The 21-22 numbers and 22-23 numbers are at our fall snapshot, which is at the end of October. And so we do traditionally pick up a few students as after we get after Labor Day, after we get past Labor Day. But anyway, that being said, at 3812, I've reduced our revenue projections, and so I'll talk about that when we talk about revenue. But I just want to give you a feel for what our campus enrollment looks like right now. And here's a grade level representation. So we're at 3812. Where with snapshot last year we were at 3882. You can see that that our first class that's over 300 is in 8th grade. And then, we've got a relatively small graduating class there, but our only classes that are above 300 are 8th grade and above. When you looked at our enrollment 5 or 6 years ago, you saw classes of 300 in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and those kids have cycled up into the system, and we're just not generating the number of kindergarten or 1st grade, 2nd grade students that we were at one time. One of the things we look at really closely is the number of kindergartners and how that relates to the number of seniors, right? And so if you have a larger kindergarten class and a smaller senior class, then typically you're growing. We're going the opposite direction. And so our kindergarten numbers, although not as low as they were last year, are still relatively low. And just to become 3,900 students, you'll have to average 300 students a grade. And so that's kind of where we are right now. So we'll absolutely have to continue to monitor that and budget accordingly. Okay, so the general fund revenue. This is a slide that I shared with y'all last month, and this is the slide that I shared with y'all that was wrong, and it was absolutely wrong. And the reason why, 2 reasons actually. This was before the homestead exemption, and so I think we shared with you. Let me see what it is. Let me tell you the wrong thing. So we had budgeted, based on old law, around $30 million in local revenues, which most of that was tax revenue. As Senate Bill 2 came in, homestead exemption it was incorporated in the calculation, and so that local share has gone down $6 million. So that's $6 million less our taxpayers are going to need to pay, which is great news. The state share, last month we were estimating 10.4. We're looking at an estimation of 16.1 right now, so an increase. So exactly how we thought it was going to go, but when you add those numbers up, there's no material change. They did hold harmless, with the exception of I did decrease our enrollment or our revenue projections because our enrollment's down. So this $41.4 million revenue number has decreased by around $600,000 from the last time we met. That just represents the number of kids that we're expecting less than we had last year. In our general fund revenues, our local stills is almost 59%. Our state share is 38%, almost 39%. The state share has gone up. The local share has gone down. And you'll hear from Austin that, look, the state has increased your funding from a state perspective, which they have, but they've reduced proportionately the number of the amount of local funds that we will receive. So you will hear that, which is true, but at the same time, they did not infuse a material amount of money into the system. And so it sounds like we're going to have a special session coming up this fall. That's the rumor. And we're going to need some help. We're absolutely going to need some help. Most of the neighbors I've talked to, school district neighbors that we talk all the time, most everyone is adopting a deficit budget because there's just not additional money in the system. Number one. Number two, we've got to pay our employees. We did a compensation plan. Number three, inflation is absolutely, we have to accommodate for the inflation and the increased costs. Okay, general fund expenditures. So this is by major category, and so our instruction side of the house, is essentially level funded. And one of the things that we've done over the past year through attrition is we have not replaced positions as best we could. We look at each position very closely, and so we've been able to reduce through attrition going into the next school year about $1.2 million. Most of it is at the elementary schools because we've seen a decrease in enrollment primarily at the elementary schools right now. And so there's some grade level teachers that were not needed because of the decrease in enrollment. So primarily the reductions have been at the elementary level. High school has seen one or two reductions, and middle school has seen one or two reductions. We've seen a couple reductions in this building as well, and so that's around 1.2 million. So we've been able to make that reduction. So that's why you see a level funded instruction related category. Instructional supports increased $239,000. General administration decreased. District operation has increased slightly. One of the things that we have not talked about until tonight is we still have about $600,000 in our ESSER funding that will go away next year. So what we have done is, well, first of all, let me tell you, payroll represents 85% of our budget. Forgot about that. So that's the major component of how we spend our money is salaries and benefits. So what we've done is we've taken approximately $600,000 out of the general fund and put it into ESSER. Again, ESSER goes away next year, and so that's one of the permissible uses of ESSER is they're planning the general fund. And so we were proposing that we put around $600,000 into ESSER, which brings our budget deficit down from, I think last time we talked it was around 800 and some odd thousand, down to around 200,000. So when you add both the ESSER reduction or the ESSER addition to our budget deficit, the budget deficit is about the same that we talked about last month. And that's with a reduction of our revenue estimation. And that kind of shows you what our how our ESSER fund, or how much money we've received with ESSER. And again, we have about $600,000 remaining funds that will be allocated to supplant the general fund. But overall, we received about $4.7 million of ESSER funds, and they were needed. They were absolutely needed. And then this is the way permissible uses for the ESSER 3 funds. Again, supplanting the general fund is one of the permissible uses. Okay, child nutrition budget has not changed since we talked last time. So we were presenting a balanced budget with the child nutrition fund. Again, we'll be coming back to you with budget amendments as we draw down those reserves that we talked about last time to improve the middle school cafeteria and kitchen, and then Lake Dallas Elementary School will be next on the list. Okay, the debt service fund. Property values, again, provide additional or increased property values absolutely help the debt service fund. And as property values increase, we have opportunities to retire debt, which we've, I think the board has done the past 3 years. And so it not only increases our debt capacity in the event that there's another bond election that's needed, but also decreases the taxpayer burden. And so, so we're proposing this evening to maintain the current 50-cent tax rate, and we're proposing a defeasance of $3.46 million worth of existing debt, and that's going to save future interest cost of almost $1 million, well, about $900,000. And so when we add to our previous interest savings since 2012, we're almost $32 million in savings to the taxpayers. So we were going to propose that this evening, and then we will bring a resolution to defease debt to the next board meeting in 2 weeks, and then it'll be up to y'all to act on that, approve it or not. And so this is just our debt service by series, and so you see as we go out a little bit further, we have capacity in the event that there's another bond election. We're not talking about a bond election tonight, and that's not a precursor of things to come here relatively soon, but at the same time, it's always inevitable. And so, so just kind of want to share with you our outstanding debt service by series. You can see the 22-23 year is a little bit high. We just made those payments yesterday. And then if the board approves this proposed defeasance, then that means that the other series will go down at some point in time. So. And then tax rate, our total tax rate, the M&O portion of the tax rate is actually calculated by TEA once we receive our certified value. So we throw in a little template, we send it to TEA, and magically the next 2 days they say that's great with us. And so so our tax rate is being compressed on the M&O side to 75 cents. So 75.75 cents per $100 valuation. And then we're proposing a 50-cent tax rate for debt service. So our total tax rate is proposed this evening as 1.2575. And so you can see that's down from 1.44 last year, 17-18 down from 1.67. Our highest was probably about 15 years ago. Our highest was $1.87. So we've gone down from 187 to the proposed rate of 1.257. So our debt service budget, again, this has the defeasance calculated in the debt service budget. We're proposing a balanced debt service budget as well. And then this is a list of our federal and other governmental programs with our title programs, our IDEA B programs for our special needs students, our Perkins grant for our career and technology. Our IMA allotment, this is a biennium allotment, so we get to use this over 2 years. That has increased from the previous biennium. They actually cut IMA a pretty substantial amount the previous biennium. They brought it up to where it was before they cut it. So they increased it, but at the same time as a level we were 4 years ago. We've received a dyslexia grant, an autism grant, and a school safety grant. We've spent most of that money in improving our life and safety signal at all of our campuses. We did the high school the previous year. So we've got a little money left that we're going to improve, make some other security improvements in the district. So, so we're proposing our public hearing, which is in 2 weeks. The notice must be published no later than 30 days, or no earlier than 30 days, or later than 10 days before the hearing. So we have to publish this in the newspaper. If the board approves this, we will post it probably Wednesday. It will have the proposed tax rate of 1.2575, and that's an 18.5-cent decrease from the previous year. So it's a substantial decrease. So we'll see when we get our tax bills, but our taxpayers will see not only a substantially lower tax rate, but a $100,000 homestead exemption. So we should see our tax bills go down collectively. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Wes. Is there any questions or comments from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion, authorize the publishing of the proposed tax rate not to exceed 1.2575 and the notice of public meeting to discuss the budget and tax rate for the 2023-24 school year, which is scheduled to be held on the 28th of August.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Appleby. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval, please indicate. That passes 6-0. Thank you. Our next item is consideration and/or action to approve an agreement for the purchase of attendance credit option 3 agreement and to delegate contractual authority to the superintendent.
Okay.
Mr. Eversole.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stacy. So this is, we'll rehash what we did last year. Last year was the first time we brought this agenda item to the board. We are now Chapter 49 School District. It used to be called Chapter 41 Recapture School District. And the board each year has to select an option on how we make that payment. Excuse me. And so, so it's called Chapter 49 Wealth Sharing. And we don't consider us as a wealthy school district, but the state does. And so we're projecting around $350,000 in recapture payments this year. And depending on the selection that you make this evening will dictate how the state gets their money back. And so the district wealth above a guaranteed yield of 49.28, which we are per WADA, are subject to provisions of Chapter 48 and Chapter 49. This is actually a 49 provision that we're discussing tonight. And so the whole idea is to equalize the funding in some form and fashion. And so it requires that Chapter 49 school districts choose how the state gets that money back. And so the district can consider consolidation with another school district that has lower property values, and that would bring the property value per WADA down, and wouldn't have to pay recapture. The board can detach or annex land that could adjust that calculation as well. The board could purchase attendance credits, which is what we did last year, and that kind of gets technical, but the reality of it is what happens is at the end of the year, they determine, because we don't know exactly how much recapture we're going to have to pay until the year is finished. And so we'll know how much recapture we have to pay for the 22-23 school year probably in September. And so this is the option the board chose last year. It just nets out. So they just subtract it from any revenue that we'd receive from the state. And so, so that's the easiest, and that's what we're going to be asking the board to approve tonight, but that's what we did last year. The board can also contract for education of non-resident students. that brings down the calculation, or brings down the wealth. And again, another last option is tax-based consolidation. And so, we're recommending option 3, which essentially nets out those payments. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this topic.
Thanks, sir. Are there any questions or comments?
And let me mention one thing. The motion is prescribed by law. So if the board chooses that this selection, it will need to be motioned exactly how it's stated in my packet. So, and we're
Gotcha.
recording, so they can come back and listen to it.
Gotcha. All right. Is there any questions, comments? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll read it. I motion to approve to delegate certain matters relating to the district's Chapter 49 obligations and submission to the superintendent of schools for the 2023-24 school year, using the language included below. For the 2023-24 school year, we delegated contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code 11.1511 C4 to the superintendent solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC 48.257 and TEC Chapter 49, Subchapters A and D, and the rules adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006. This included approval of the agreement of the purchase of attendance credit or the agreement for the purpose of attendance credit, netting Chapter 48 funding.
Okay. So I have a motion by Mrs. Collier to approve as stated. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Smith, and that follows her first, right? Exactly stated the same way. Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval, please indicate. And that passes 6-0. All right.
All that reading aloud in school.
Yeah, right. All right, our next item is consideration approval of Public Information Act calendar. Dr. Brown?
Yes, Ms. Valdez will present the recommended Public Information Act calendar to the board.
West is a very hard act to follow, but I will do my best.
Don't kid yourself, come on.
Okay, well, thank you, board. As you all may know, HB 3033 passed during the regular legislative session, and that amended the existing Public Information Act so that districts are now required to designate 10 non-business days for each calendar year that needs board approval. While there was no change to the 10 business day deadline for a district to respond to a request, there was a change as to what constitutes a non-business day. So previously, districts were able to exclude holiday breaks in a 10-day response period, and now that's no longer allowed. This state now says that non-business days are excluded only to weekend days, national and state holidays, and the Friday or Monday after a holiday that falls on a weekend or is observed earlier or later. So I have provided you with a recommendation of 10 dates for the 2023-24 school year for your consideration that align with times of the year whenever we know we would have minimal staff available to complete those requests. And those dates are November 24th, December 22nd, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and then July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. And that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the board? Comments? Nope. If not, I will entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Oh, hey, I was almost too late.
Almost.
It was almost too late.
Almost. Almost.
And Ms. McKinley, go ahead.
So tell me what's the effect? What does this do? What, you're shaking your head. What's it?
Well, essentially, this allows us to count the days that you designate as a day off. So that way, if we don't have staff available, that takes those dates away from the 10-day period that we were required to provide the documents that were requested. I know it's very confusing.
This has to do with like open records requests
Yes.
and extending the
Yeah.
time based on those days, subtracting
Yep.
that time,
Mhm.
extending that time.
So previously, if we received an open records request, say the Thursday before our Christmas break, we could count the entire 2 weeks off of Christmas break as not counting towards our 10 days to respond. And now this legislation has removed that opportunity. We are only given 10 days to decide throughout the calendar, non-business days that we can use now, not every holiday.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Aaron's light is on.
No.
He's hovering over the button over there, isn't he? Okay. If there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
This one's a much shorter one, so I'm going to do it.
Oh, knock yourself out.
I move to approve the recommended non-business dates for the 2023-24 school calendar.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Appleby. Do I have a second? Oh, I thought Bruce was going to do it. I saw him moving around over there. I have Mr. Tucker with the second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval, please indicate. And that passes 6-0. Thanks. And our next item is consideration approval to enter into legal services agreements. Dr. Brown.
Yes, sir. You have attached a copy of the 4 current attorney groups that have been retained by the school district. And so each year, according to board policy, the board shall retain such attorneys. So we're bringing back the 4 that the district has been working with over the last 12 months as a recommendation to allow us to continue to work with those attorneys.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 4 attorney groups retained for service.
All right, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Appleby. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval indicate. And that passes 6-0. And our last action item is consideration approval of the NCTC Emergency Dual Credit MOU.
Good evening, Dr. Brown and President Stacy and esteemed members of the Board of Trustees. Bringing you good news tonight. So we have in front of us a emergency MOU, a memorandum of understanding that was brought to us by NCTC, North Central Texas College. It was signed into law under House Bill 8 on June 9th and is basically a supplement to the MOU we've already signed back in July. This is just an addition of. The changes to the MOU that we signed are not going to be affected from a point of awarding credit or earning credit, simply financial, and it's actually a financial benefit to our students. It lowers the tuition rate from $137 per credit hour to $55 per credit hour, effectively a 40% drop in cost. And it also identifies any student that enrolls in dual credit that is identified as free and reduced for lunch is zero cost across the board. They don't pay for any of their courses. NCTC will cover 100% of the tuition for students that are identified as free and reduced lunch, and LDISD will be covering the additional cost. So that would be like textbooks or subscriptions online or things of that nature. This MOU is compliant with House Bill 8 and is recommended for your approval.
Thanks, sir.
Any
Any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay,
So do we, so if, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Oh, okay, Ms. Collier has a
No
question.
That's my bad.
That's okay. So what are we paying as a district?
Okay, so currently what it's going to amount to, it's going to cost us somewhere between $75 to maybe $250 additional per student's identified. Currently we have 28 students across the board that are identified. So if one of our students was to take a speech class, that book might cost us $75. But if they're in our fire program, the additional costs for our fire program are going to look to be about $320 additional dollars. But we're also seeing a significant drop in other costs, especially tuition. So,
Okay.
and once again, we will not be paying any tuition for free and reduced, though NCTC covers that.
Right, we're just going to cover their supplies.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Tucker. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval indicate. And that passes 6-0. Thank you. That concludes our action items. Our next items are future discussion items. The first of which is accelerated instruction public hearing. Dr. Brown.
Yes, sir. At the next meeting, we will be having a public hearing as required for schools that receive state compensatory education program funds. And that public hearing is to review the performance of students who are classified as at-risk students as it compares to students who are not at-risk students. And so that is a required public hearing that we'll schedule on August the 28th.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions on that, by the way? No? Okay. Our next future discussion item is the budget and tax rate adoption. Dr. Brown?
Yes, sir. You heard from Mr. Eversols. That will be the last step in the budget approval process. So we'll wrap that up at the next meeting and bring to you a budget, a tax rate for approval for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you. We did hear from Mr. Eversols. Anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay. And our concludes the future and discussion items. The next item is our information items, upcoming meetings and events. Dr. Brown.
Yes, sir. You have a schedule of events. We have our next board meeting on August the 28th, and we have several events listed there for you. The kickoff of the seasons, the district games. We have a cross-country meet, open house listed, and we have introduced a Meet the Falcons night, where we'll be introducing the band, the cheer, the high steppers, football, and other fall sports. Coach Head has a very long list of athletes that will be presented, so we hope you guys will come out and visit us.
No. Looking to see if it went blue. Thank you. That wraps up our business items for tonight. We do have an executive session in order. So it is 7:23, and we are going into executive session.